Welcome to the Lend Academy podcast, episode number 144. This is your host, Peter Renton, founder of Lend Academy and co-founder of Lend It Fintech. This episode of the Lend Academy podcast is sponsored by Nortridge Software, the platform behind some of the largest and most innovative lending companies in fintech. If you've gone to Lend It, chances are you've seen some of their customers. They chose Nortridge Software because it allowed them to push to market faster, provided the flexibility that other platforms don't, and enabled them to go from startup to IPO. Learn more at nortridge.com. Today on the show, we're talking used cars. Well, actually, we're not really. We're talking about the complete disruption of the used car buying and selling experience. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Rod Buscher. He is the CEO and founder of Blinker. Now, Blinker is a technology company focused on the auto industry, and basically they have looked at the private buying and selling experience and completely redone it into the modern world, into an app-based world. And, Rod isn't someone who's just a kid come up with a great idea. He has decades of experience in the car industry as a dealer, as a seller of cars. And he's taken all of his knowledge and brought it to bear into the way the car buying experience should be today. And so we talk a lot about that. We talk about the financing process that they go through and how they're able to offer loans on the app in a very short amount of time. We talk about the scale they're at. We talk about how the actual process works. We get into some detail into how this whole process works. And we talk about Rod's vision for not just the future of Blinker, but for the future of the car buying experience. It was a fascinating show. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the podcast, Rod.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I'd like to get these things started by giving the listeners a little bit of background about yourself. And I know you've had an interesting career. It's included a partnership with a certain Super Bowl winning quarterback. Can you tell us a little bit about that and about your history?
Sure. I just got into the car business way back in 1973 by accident, started selling cars and liked the business and grew and ended up buying my first dealership in 1987 and wanted to grow. And there was this quarterback in Denver that everybody knew and named John Elway. And so it was through basically a cold call to Pat Bowlen, the owner of the Broncos. I told him what I wanted to do, and he brought John into the mix, and we ended up with a partnership in 1989. And John and I were partners from 1989 through to 1998, and then we sold AutoNation at that time.
Okay, interesting. So it's funny because I'm not from here, and I arrived in Denver in 1991, and I'd never heard of John Elway. I'd never heard of him, and I soon found out who he was. But it was interesting when I first started driving around. I think it was like my first weekend here. I noticed these John Elway dealerships. I went, he must be a car dealer, and then I quickly found out that he was actually a footballer. And now I'm a big Broncos fan, but that was a long time ago. Okay, so you sold to AutoNation, and then that was obviously some time ago now. So what did you do after that, and what led to the founding of Blinker?
Yeah, so I actually took a little time and took my family to Spain and let them see the world, and then came back and bought some more dealerships and had about 25 franchises nationwide with some in New England, Nashville, and the Groove dealerships here in Denver, and sold my interest in those in 2012 and started Blinker in July of 2013. And the idea with Blinker is I had 30 plus years of all the experiences that people like about doing business with dealerships and experiences they don't like. And one of the biggest experiences was the value that they got for their trade-ins. That was a constant rub, but they didn't have a good solution to sell them themselves. The Craigslist experience is not great, sometimes dangerous. They don't really give you any support. So the idea was, how could you bring all those issues together and empower people to be able to sell their cars privately and do it safely and securely and give them all the tools that a dealer has? And so that was really the idea behind Blinker, is how can we do all that and make it easy, and put it all on a smartphone where you can do it remotely and help people nationwide and be able to facilitate all those sales from Denver. And so that's what we've been successful in doing.
Okay, so then let's just talk about the process. And I should preface this by saying I've actually gone through your process. I've known about Blinker for several years now because just by total coincidence, Jeff Robert, who's on your team, was the coach of my son's soccer team back several years ago. And so I found out about Blinker through him. And so we actually went through the process. It was almost 2 years ago now when my wife sold her car, and we did it on Blinker, and it was a great process. Why don't you describe for the listeners how the process actually works when you're particularly on the selling side, but also on the buying side?
Sure. So our technology, we have 17 patents around our image recognition technology, and that's one of the real foundations of our company. You can use our technology like Zillow or Shazam for cars. So there's 270 to 300 million cars in America, and you can today in any of the 50 states stand 6 feet behind any car and take one picture, and in 3 seconds you're going to know the year, make, model, all the equipment on the car, a value of that vehicle, and approximate miles on that vehicle. So you can do that just for fun. You see a Ferrari you want to know about, you take a picture and you get all that information. And you don't get any personal information, you just get information about the car itself. And then if it's your car and you want to sell it, you hit the sell button, and it will ask you to take a picture of your driver's license, and then we verify that you actually own the car and can sell it. So that's the first part of a fraud check and verification that we do. Once we verify you, then we ask you to take a few pictures. We give you guidance on what pictures to take and what angles to take them at. We found that the quality of the pictures has a direct relationship to the potential of the car selling. So that and pricing are the two most important things. So you take a dozen pictures. We allow you to write a brief description if you like, which can tell about some things on the car that are accessories or dings on the car or anything that might affect the value. And then we give you a map where you can put a pin in the map where you feel safe and secure to show your car for a demo ride. And then we give you pricing guidance from Black Book. And we'll show you dealer retail, we'll show you private party price, and we'll show you average trade-in. And we give you pricing guidance, but you pick your price. So let's just say you pick $20,000. We then convert that to a monthly payment. So now you're selling your car like a dealer for $20,000 or say $350 a month. So now the ad is complete. We put it all together into a nice format, and then we post it to sites like Craigslist, like AutoTrader, and the other sites. We give it to you to send to your Facebook friends, LinkedIn friends, Twitter friends, wherever you have a Instagram, wherever you have a nice following, you can send the ad out there because a lot of people like to buy cars from people they know. So now the car is posted, and we've also given you a free $40 Carfax report. Once you listed your car, that Carfax report is in the ad, so anyone looking at your car can review the Carfax report and see the history on the vehicle. So now it's posted, and say it's your car, and I'm interested, and I text you, message you through the app. You know my first name, I know your first name, no personal information is exchanged, so it's all safe and secure. I say I would like to come do a test drive. We pick out a time to come to that safe location. In the meantime, I've taken a picture of my driver's license, and I literally get approved I approve a soft credit pull. I literally get approved for credit in less than a minute.
Okay.
So now we verified you, the seller. We verified the vehicle, and we verified also that the vehicle is not stolen or is not a branded title, so it's never been a salvage car because we don't allow salvage cars, flood cars, or stolen cars on our site. So we've done those fraud checks, and now we've also verified the buyer. So we have a much more safe and secure environment for you and I to meet, and you know you have someone who can actually buy your vehicle. So we meet, I like the car, I make you an offer. You can accept, reject, or counter. And once we get together on a price, then we're both given some to-dos. You have to take pictures of your title and your registration, link your bank account, and I have to link my bank account, and maybe I have to give a little more information depending on my credit score, but not much. And once all that's done, the buyer's order and the finance contracts are literally downloaded onto the phone, e-signed through DocuSign. Once all that's done, we have somebody verify that all the to-dos are done, the contracts are signed properly. We do all that virtually. And at that point, we instruct you to give me your keys. I drive away with your car, and now it's my car. I'm making payments to Blinker. If I had a down payment, it's pulled securely from my bank account, and the money is in your bank account tomorrow morning. And if you sold the car for $20,000, all $20,000 is in your bank account. It's really important to know that it's all free to both the buyer and the seller. We do not charge a commission for assisting that transaction. So that is a complete transaction.
Okay, well, as someone who went through this process, I really appreciated the fact that I could offer financing, or I wasn't really offering it. You were offering it, but I was able to say to someone, and we were selling it was a Mini for like $10,000 or something. But the great thing was that you because the people who came to see the vehicle didn't have $10,000 to give us,
right.
And rather than having to, I've gone through the process where they've got to go to the bank, and and suddenly you're a week later and you still haven't sold your car. So that was really the great advantage for the seller, is that you can offer financing. So I guess a question that I'm curious about, just what percentage of used vehicles are financed versus paid for in cash? Do you have sort of some sense of that number?
Well, because there's a lot of low dollar cars being sold, those $2,000 and $3,000, that the numbers probably get down to 50-50.
Right.
But I can tell you that any car that qualifies for financing that we're selling through Blinker, 80% of the customers are taking Blinker financing.
Right.
The other thing that's important, Peter, for you to understand is the other thing that takes people to dealerships is if they have a lien on their car.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are selling your car for $20,000, but you owe $12,000 on it, people don't have the money to pay off the $12,000 so they can have a free and clear title. So then they have to work through their bank and work through the buyer, and it's a mess. So we at Blinker, we will pay off. We verify your payoff. We will pay off the $12,000 and send you $8,000. And so we take care of that part of it also, which is a huge issue because most of the cars on the road have liens on them.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, so I'd like to go dig into a little bit into the financing process. When I sold my wife's car, the first person that came along said, yep, we want to buy it. And then they went in and they were rejected for financing. And and the second person that came along actually was able to get financing. But can you tell us a little bit about your, how you pre-qualify people and how how you're able to, what's the process like when you're applying for financing?
Yeah, so typically we will just get a driver's license, front and back, and we will ask for annual income, and then we ask for the customer to authorize a soft credit pull. And that gives us enough information that we can do a pre-approval on the person. So when they go out and look at the car, they already know if they're approved. And what we do is we approve them first, and then we approve every car individually. So based on their income level, they may be a perfect fit for a $15,000 car, but not a $40,000 car. So those two approvals will look very different.
Mm-hmm.
Currently today, we're financing the range between 560 and 800 plus on the FICO range. So we're doing a full spectrum of lending.
Interesting.
And we're financing cars that are 10 years old or newer.
Okay.
And less than 100,000 miles or less.
Okay, that's interesting. So then when you're making a financing decision, obviously you're making sure the person can afford to pay, but you also you're obviously making sure the value of the car is correct. There's not you're not you're not selling a car that's not the right, that's overvalued, that you wouldn't be able to, take ownership of yourself. So I guess, like, I'm curious about, what data you're actually using. I mean, you talked about obviously using driver's license data, but how are you able to, or what data are you pulling in to make that underwriting decision?
Well, without going into all the detail, I mean, there's, first of all, we're getting information from both the buyer and the seller that's unique. Most of the times when you're making a credit decision, you don't have all the information about both the buyer or the seller, a Carfax report on the vehicle itself. And then we've got third-party data providers that help us with a lot of information. We use Plaid for bank verification and for linking bank accounts. We do some micro deposit work. The phone itself is a great fraud device because of the GPS. We know that if somebody says they're in Denver and they're in the Ukraine, we know we have a problem.
Right.
So there's just more and more opportunities to get more information virtually than to have the customers sitting in front of you. So I think what's important, there's been a lot of people attempt to be successful in the private party space. Mm-hmm. Capital One was one that, they went after it hard for many, many years, and I think were not particularly successful at it. And a lot of it had to do with fraud. So there's been a lot of people that have attempted it. There are a lot of companies, and nobody's really been successful. And we think that, Blinker has really changed that. And that was the most important thing for us to prove, is that we could do transactions virtually with two parties that we're never going to see and a card that we're never going to see. Can we make all that work? And, initially banks that we talked to, they were concerned that we were going to just get credit seekers or millennials without any credit, but we wouldn't get a full spectrum of business. And that's just absolutely turned out to be not the case. We are getting a full spectrum. We've got basically 5 buckets of FICO scores, and we are getting a cross-section in every one of those. It's almost an even spread between all of those. Our FICO scores are higher than we expected. Our income levels are higher than we expected, and our loan to value on the vehicles that we're selling are much better than a dealer portfolio. So we have proven a process that nobody else has ever proven before, and we're really excited about that. And now to the point that we have some of the biggest banks in the country interested in buying our paper. We're on a forward purchase agreement or on a direct sale agreement, and 2 years ago we couldn't say that.
Right. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to just talk about your demographic here. You mentioned millennials, but who is the target audience here, and is it different for buyers and sellers?
They're very similar, and we thought that our target was going to be that 25 to high 30s, and we're finding that our customers are from low 20s to 60s. Huh. And we had a young lady of 75 years old sell her car on Blinker the other day, which was really exciting for us. So our spectrum, we are covering all ages, and the 40s, 50s, and 60-year-olds are absolutely using Blinker and enjoying it.
Okay. So then, and how are you finding these people? How are you getting the word out about Blinker?
So we have done traditional. You may have seen our ads here in Denver. We've been running them in Texas. We've got a 15-second ad that shows how the technology works, and then we're doing all the digital, social advertising that you have to do to be successful today through all the different channels. And Facebook is a big one for us, and so it's just all the traditional ways. And we have influencers out there that we're working with now that they have articles that they write and have talked about Blinker. And first of all, they have to be interested and believe in our product before they do that. But there's people out there that can help get the word out. And that's really the biggest thing for us is once people have experienced it, they love it, Our NPS scores, Net Promoter Scores, are in the 90s for both the buyers and the sellers. So the experience when people use it, love it. I mean, on the App Store, I think our rating is 4.7 out of 5. So the experience is good. So it's really about finding the sellers. We can find the buyers. It's getting sellers to list their cars. And once they learn about us and learn that it's free and we give them all this help, it's really easy to get them on. It's just about them learning about Blinker, learning who we are, and having the trust to be able to do it with us. And we've gotten great traction here in Colorado. We're getting traction in Texas. We just moved into Florida and California. But one of the ways that we're helping open marketplaces, I'll give you an example. In California, there's a large rental car company up in Northern California that they have very nice cars, well taken care of, and they just put 70 cars on our platform the other day to test with us. We actually are selling some cars for Manheim Auction here in Denver, and we've been very successful with them. In fact, we're going to open with them in Texas also. And what those are win-win situations. They get a little more for their vehicles, but the customers get a great buy, and it's all done through the app. We are talking to some member-based organizations that have huge member bases with lots and lots of cars, and they're interested in using our technology with their member bases to empower them to be able to buy and sell their cars on their platform. Mm-hmm. So, some licensing like that. So it's really, there's just lots and lots of different ways that we're approaching the marketplace, and people are just finding out about Blinker and are excited about it and are interested in partnering with us and using it. So we'll grow the business both organically by the individual seller, but we'll also have some partnerships that will help us bring product to the marketplace. And once they've tried it and they found a car to buy, I think there's a lot of viral component to what we do. People will talk about it. What we've learned is that somebody who sells a $2,000 or $3,000 car on Blinker, we don't make any money because we can't finance it. We can't do anything other than help them sell their car. But what we're finding is we've surveyed a lot of those customers. As soon as they sell that $3,000 car, they come back on the platform and buy another car and finance it with us. Mm-hmm. Because they like the experience.
Right, and that's very true. I can know from when my wife did it. We got more than the trade-in value, and we undercut the dealer price, and it was a great experience. I remember she shared it on Facebook and said it was the first time she'd ever had a positive experience in a car transaction, and that was nice. And I know when I'll probably be selling my car next year. It'll probably be, and I'll be certainly using you guys. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you're funding these loans. You did mention that you're talking with banks who want to buy your paper, but like today, do you have a warehouse line or you have these coming off your balance sheet? How are you funding the loans today?
So initially, it was all off the balance sheet because we had to prove the platform. And once we were able to do that, now we have a debt facility. So we've been able to bring that cash back onto our balance sheet and use the debt facility to facilitate those loans and the additional loans that we're making today. And then we are in diligence with a couple of large institutions on a forward purchase agreement. I just had a call today with another 50-state bank that would buy direct, where we would contract on their document and they would buy the loans directly. So there's lots of interest in the loans that we're producing. 50% of our loans today also are refinance, and so there's lots of interest in that refinance business.
Interesting. So I wanted to talk about that because that wasn't around, I don't think, when I was using your site. So the refinance market is real. It's becoming a big part of your business. Tell us a little bit about how you're approaching that.
It's kind of the old-fashioned way. It's direct mail. And what we do is we can go to one of the credit bureaus and get information on customers who were just maybe mispriced when they bought their car and their interest rate was really too higher than it should have been. Mm-hmm. Either they were mispriced or they were taken advantage of, one of the two. Also, there's customers out there that might have had some tough credit and have made payments for a year or 18 months on a timely basis and have rebuilt their credit, and they deserve their interest rate to come down. So we target those customers. We just sent out about 200,000 mailers this week, and those will be hitting the mailboxes over the next couple of days. And we're saving on average, those customers, we're saving on average of $127 a month.
Wow.
So it's really significant. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy. If somebody gets our mailer, we tell them what we can do, what we think we can do for them. They go out and take a picture of their car. They take a picture of their driver's license. They go back in their house and sit on the couch, have a glass of wine, and get refinanced in less than 20 minutes, and they never left their house.
Mm-hmm. So how are you actually lending this money? Do you said you're in 4 states today. Do you have state lending licenses? Is that how you're operating?
We do. We have licenses in those 4. I think we're just about to be licensed in another 8 or 10 states, and we're rolling out across the country. We've targeted states. We targeted the 4 that we're in. That's 30% of the cars in America. So it's a very significant piece of the number of autos in the country. But we're moving into targeted states. But we plan to be in all 50 states, hopefully by the end of the year.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
We want to be nationwide. Yeah.
So are you going to do that state by state, or are you going to go with a partner bank to sort of help you get nationwide coverage, or how are you going to do it?
Yeah, we'll probably do both. We always want to be able to stand alone on our own. So we'll probably get licensed in all 50 states, but we will certainly, in the interim, take advantage of a national bank and be able to use their lending license when we're returning the loans directly to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you give us a sense of the scale you guys are at today? Like how many cars have transacted through your platform?
Yeah, so we've had about 9,000 vehicles since we started listed on our site. We've had about 4,000 sales. Mm-hmm. It's about 200, in dollars, we estimate that to be about, I think it's around $450 million in car sales. Mm-hmm. We've had right at $225 million in loan requests. And we've done over, and I don't exactly have the dollar number of loans, but it's significant. It's growing, and in every quarter, every month, and every quarter, it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Okay, so we're almost out of time, but I just want to make sure I'm clear here on your business model. I mean, are you making money on the spread, on the interest rate spread, or is there any other way you're making money today? Yes,
so we make money on the loan, just like a dealership would. We get a small piece of the interest rate spread. We're selling service contracts, and we're selling those for about 30% less than I sold them for when I had the dealerships. We're selling guaranteed asset protection insurance, gap insurance, and we've just signed up with a partner to start selling auto insurance. And we'll go out and find the best product in the marketplace and bring it back to the customer through our app. Mm-hmm. And so that's not live yet. It's about to be live on our website, and then it'll be integrated into the app itself. So you'll be able to complete the entire transaction on the phone.
Interesting. So I'm curious about your vision for Blinker. I mean, here you are. You're a car dealer guy. You've owned many car dealerships over the years. And are you trying to put the used car dealers out of business? Or what is your vision for Blinker?
Yeah, there's 25% of the cars, maybe as high as 30%, have always been sold privately. So it's a big number by itself. Mm-hmm. So we're not anti-dealer. We are pro-consumer. We're pro-transparency. We're just trying to give people who want to sell the cars themselves and get the value themselves and still go out and buy that new car, from the dealer. That's great. But if they want to go through the process, we want to make it easier for them to do that. And really, the vision of Blinker is bigger than that. It's about having one app on your phone that is everything about car ownership, whether you want to buy a car, sell a car, refinance a car. You want to get recall information on your vehicle. You want to buy a part for your car. You want to get service for your car. You want to have a button on your phone that if you get in a car wreck, you can document both your car and the other car and have it all done electronically rather than writing down license numbers and writing down or taking pictures of the car and having to download them. So all kinds of things like that, where everything about car ownership is all on one app, and it makes it easy. So if you have at any point you need information on your car, you just go to your phone. You don't have to go to your file at home and pull that information out. So that's really the vision. Whether you like BMWs and you want information on the latest BMW coming out, that we can feed that to you directly from BMW's website. So that's really the big picture, is to give all the tools to a customer right on their phone.
All right. Well, it sounds like a great vision, and one that, I believe, it should become reality at some point, where this should be a digital experience, and it really isn't yet. And so I wish you all the best, Rod. Thanks for coming on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. See ya. I can certainly see a time in the not too distant future where all cars are going to be transacted in an app environment. The days are numbered where you go to Craigslist and you go to the bank and get cash or a cashier's check and go and transact in an offline way. It should be an online process. It's clearly going to be an online process, and whether it's Blinker or some other company that turns out to be the industry standard, I obviously don't know, but clearly, there obviously will be maybe multiple companies that are doing this well, but clearly, the vision that Rod has is one that is going to become a reality one way or another, and the car buying experience and the car selling experience will go from being a total pain to one that is fairly effortless, and that is what the expectation should be, and I think will be in the not too distant future. Anyway, on that note, I will sign off. I very much appreciate you listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. This episode of the Lend Academy podcast was sponsored by Nortridge Software, the platform behind some of the largest and most innovative lending companies in fintech. If you've gone to lend it, chances are you've seen some of their customers. They chose Nortridge Software because it allowed them to push to market faster, provided the flexibility that other platforms don't, and enabled them to go from startup to IPO. Learn more at nortridge.com.